Okay. The caffeine did not kill you, my friend.
No, it did not.
Yeah,
Not yet, at least.
your heart is still intact.
Beating 70
This
beats a
very
minute
this
like
very
it's
second.
supposed to. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's
That's
still
impressive.
beating well. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to bonus episode 6.
Thanks. Or are you talking to the listeners?
I know I was kind of looking at you, but I'm talking to the listeners.
Okay.
But
Okay.
hey, welcome as well.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
welcome to you too.
Thank you. You got me. I like you had a question for me that I wanted to know ahead of time last time, and I was the kid that wanted to know what my presents were before Christmas, and I want to know the secret before somebody tells me. But you were really good.
Do
I
you read
wanted to.
spoilers?
Yeah. Do you?
No. Why?
I don't know.
My son goes and reads spoilers, and then we're watching something and he already knows what happens. And it's like, what kind of experience is that?
Okay, ironically, just this morning, I'm in my office and I'm eating breakfast and I'm watching this HBO show. I think it's called Love and Death, and it's really well done. It's like a true crime drama that's a real story. And I'm maybe 5 episodes in out of the 8. And what did I do? Couldn't take it, and I googled the real case, and then I read all about it. So I am a little bit disappointed because I didn't see the what was going to happen at the end coming. Do you watch a lot of movies?
I used to.
Yeah.
In my previous life, when I was an addict, I was one of the creators of a film festival
That's
in the
right.
Northeast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to watch a lot. I used to go to the movies all the time. I think we have every streaming channel basically
Mhm.
that's out there. And so I still periodically watch, but I find I'm much more into series now.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Well, still to that point, where I was going with that is, do you go to Rotten Tomatoes and look at the tomato meter before you go to a movie or watch a series?
If I know absolutely nothing about the movie, which I like going into movies knowing nothing.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
I will look at the tomato meter, but I won't read reviews.
Okay. Okay. In a perfect world, I have my family. We're all going to a movie, and I know nothing about it whatsoever. But I trust that we're going because somebody likes it. And then I want to look at the tomato meter so bad. And if I
Right.
don't, I know
And
that. Yeah,
afterwards, I really enjoy going and reading all the reviews.
yeah, yeah,
I
same.
saw I saw a somewhat challenging movie recently um, called "Beau is Afraid,"
Oh, I did not see that, and I was very curious about it.
and it's Ari Aster, the guy who did Hereditary and Midsummer,
Uh huh.
and it is a very, very challenging film. You need to give it a large berth of symbolism and interpretation.
Mm,
Yeah, you've got to give it a very large berth that way. Um, I thought it was great, but I don't ever need to see it again.
oh yeah. Okay.
And the reviews were very mixed. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I get all these reviews. I understand this because this was too artsy, too esoteric, too non-linear for a lot of people who ingest movies.
Okay. You
And
did run a film festival, didn't you? That sounded very
yeah,
film festival-y.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I try not to talk too high art. Like my son, who's a film student,
Oh,
he gets Blu-rays in the mail all the time of these, 1967 B-level horror movies, and he's the film geek. I feel like I don't know anything compared to him.
oh, that's interesting. Okay. Okay. Are you ready for my question?
I would be ready for your question. Yes.
Okay, so do you feel what are your thoughts on you will always forever be an addict, even if it's been 20 years since the last setback or relapse, or what are your thoughts on that? Is it a lifelong process, or do you eventually just become?
I think it can be both.
Okay.
I have seen people in 12-step meetings who, after 25 years, they say they still need to go to meetings every week or
Uh,
meetings a couple times a week to stay sober. And if that's what they need because they believe that they will never recover, or they genuinely feel in their body that they will still use, that's okay if that's what they need to do. But um, earlier this year, I went through a depressive episode
oh,
of about 6 weeks. really tough time. And the silver lining in this depressive episode, which is worse than I've had in 15 years, was that I did not one time want to drink. I did not
Wow.
one time want pornography. And I didn't realize this till after the fact. And it's like, not only, it wasn't just a matter of saying no to my urges or saying no to my triggers, I didn't have any.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I haven't had any for several years, but I haven't had my back against the wall like I did in January.
Really,
And
you're really being tested.
to
Yeah.
see that there was no addiction there really made me feel like maybe I can now say that I'm recovered from this stuff
Yeah.
because my body isn't even telling me that I need it. And if we look at how neuroplasticity works,
Yes.
theoretically, I don't have the same brain that I
You
did when
don't.
I was an addict. So, yes, I think people can absolutely recover. And it makes me wonder if all of our brains adapt to to change, and all of our our neurons are constantly evolving. Are those people who say they are an addict after 20 years? Is there something wrong with them because their brain didn't change?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I didn't see us going this direction, but in a good, I like it in a good way. I'm pulling up, there really is a really impressive, part of, I refer to this book often, but the ADHD 2.0 book, where they just have a really, very nice way to talk about the neuroplasticity of the brain versus they call it, the fixed brain mindset, where people
Hmm.
said your brain, and it went from, your brain set at 5, at 12, at 18, at 25, at 30. And now, it's just, that's a fallacy. And so, and it really does matter all the different things you do. I mean, and that's that implicit memory. I go back to that again. So if you're, and then there's a book called The Expectation Effect that's amazing, which really is not just the concepts around the book The Secret, where you just say, okay, I'm gonna manifest a parking spot at the mall on Christmas, which I've had a couple clients tell me, no, I do that, versus the expectation effect of, I have the expectation that I will get better, and then I'm looking for all the ways to get better, and then that neuroplasticity of the brain's there, and I'm full of hope, and I'm doing. And so in my men's group, I'll have people say, how long is it going to take to not want to do this as often? And then I feel like, oh man, they're starting even at the wrong question. I mean, it's the question that they are asking, but then if you have the right tools, then I feel like, and you start just becoming a better human being, and that siren song of addiction lessens, then eventually there's this, I feel like, the shift of what it feels like to be you, which is like, I love what you're saying, where now you're going through something and you weren't even aware of that pull from the past.
Yeah.
And so,
Just
yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't there. It
so
wasn't
it's
there
so amazing.
whatsoever. And like I said, I guess that was the silver lining of this whole thing, was when I recognized that, wow, I when stuff gets bad in the past, I needed to drink.
Yeah,
When stuff gets bad in the past, I needed to use pornography. And while things have been up and down over the last 9 years, there hasn't been any event that was a clear uh, mental health issue as clearly as this was.
yeah,
And to me, that's a win, how I felt,
yeah,
not feeling these things. So I, I don't know how I can say I'm not recovered.
yeah. And then,
I haven't touched the stuff in 9 years and 3 months at the time we're recording this, and
wow,
I have not had any real urges or strong pull towards it. No triggers in at least 5 years.
that's a long time. I mean, that really is. And then, if there's probably going to be somebody listening to this is like, oh, well, just wait, or now, well, that, and then doing their own judgment of what you're saying, which is fine. They can do that, right?
Yeah, no,
Um,
I think it's important. I think, we do change over time.
yeah,
That version of Josh that I was, and we talked a little bit about this in the main episode, that version of Josh did not know empathy.
oh, tell me about that. You had a pretty,
This
yeah,
version does. This version
okay,
does, but I've had to work on it,
yeah,
and develop it. And I think that's because my brain has changed in the past. As I mentioned in the main episode, I had two speeds of empathy. It was 0 and it was 100.
And what was the 100? What did that look like?
That was basket case.
Okay.
That was sobbing. That was, and even if it was just a sad movie that I can't change a damn thing about,
Yeah.
um, I would be crying. It would wreck me that day. Or I at one point changed my therapy appointments from uh, early in the morning to late in the afternoon, because early in the morning I would get wrecked and be so mentally exhausted, and thinking about all the bad stuff I've done to other people or myself, that I had to move it to later in the day.
Okay.
Uh, because I was just too exhausted from this, because I would bring it up to 100% empathy, be
Mm,
feeling bad for my kids not having, the father who should have been there, feeling bad for my wife who should have had that husband there, feeling bad for my parents who now have to walk around with the idea that their kid is a porn addict.
yeah.
Um, I started to feel bad for all these people, but I could either feel it or I couldn't. There
Okay.
was no regulation of it.
Do you think any of that was the because I liked looking at how we get out of discomfort, and addiction in itself is when somebody feels uncomfortable, they want to get rid of the discomfort by turning to the coping mechanism.
Hmm.
So sometimes I feel like when people get very, very emotive like that, that it's as strange as it may sound, is like that, I feel so bad about being a bad person that now I'm gonna just go full blown emotions, because that's better than feeling, like I'm a horrible person, or a way to get out of the shame. And sometimes I wonder if when people go to that level, that's our, that inner child that's wanting somebody to come now and give us a hug, because when we were a kid and we got upset or cried or emotional, that's what would happen a lot of times. So I don't know, do you any thoughts on that? Or I could be out in the weeds a bit there.
No, I mean it does make sense. It's one of those traits where, is this something that your parents were supposed to teach you, or is
Yeah.
this something you were supposed to develop normally?
Or let me throw a C in there, well, or D. We always have to have an all of the above, but I also feel like there's a, because it's like, if I never got that uh soothing or care as a kid, that then it's like I still go to that place when I'm sad or feel bad,
Yeah.
because and now I got to reparent myself and say and tell myself, hey, it's the shame part so far hasn't really worked. So I'm noticing that I'm feeling bad and beating myself up, and it's because I had a client in last night that we this was our big conversation. He was on after day two of a pretty big bender, was just saying, I just feel so bad and I'm a horrible piece of garbage. And I was like, hey, when you're done, doing that, because the beating himself up so far hasn't helped at
Hmm.
all. And so that's why I like to say that so far I'm, I don't know, 0 for 1,500 in helping individuals where the shame has been a component of healing. But I feel like we still feel like we have to go to that place either so somebody will really want to come tell us, hey, buddy, it's going to be okay. Or we think that if I do that even more, then maybe now I'll get it and I'll stop being so bad, because this is really bad. And then I always just want to say, okay, or it happened and you're a human, and how about we try
Yeah.
a different approach, but anyway, I guess there's